Okay, folks, Harrison Whitney, recall what we said yesterday regarding the scientific hypotheses or scientific method. Make a clear statement, collect all the facts and data, categorize facts and data. Fourth step, formulate a valid scientific hypotheses. And that's exactly what we've done with our methodology. Notice on the left you have ACGT, adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine. And on the right, RNA, you have adenine, cytosine, guanine, and uracil. I made a poor, very poor U. But anyway, be it as it may, if you look just to the right, you'll see a convex and a concave caricature of everything in the universe that's concave. You'll find something that's convex. So every formal U, you'll have an upside down U. Now this is at a fourth grade level. And recall, in order to formulate a valid scientific hypothesis, it gets its validity from a formal structure. And not only that, but any mathematical, any scientific hypothesis that's considered valid, and in my case, it's considered sound. That's where not only are the premises true, and the conclusion found to be true, that gives credence to what's called a sound, valid, formal, scientific hypothesis. Now what we're going to do is, earlier I mentioned yesterday I did a doctoral dissertation in 1992 at a world-class university, Wayne State University at Detroit, Michigan, and it was on Einstein's 10-unit metric tensor gravitational field equations. Now, with what we're faced at this juncture is what's called Einstein's nightmare, and his expression, Einstein himself, referred to quantum mechanics as spooky action at a distance. He had to acknowledge quantum mechanics, the difference that it made, or the opposition that it has to relativity. But what we're going to do, and what science is actually working on at this juncture, is relativity is valid. Quantum mechanics is valid. But conjoined, both together, we come up with what's called string theory. And according to string theory, there are more than 4 dimensions. East, west, north, and south, and then time is the 4th dimension. But we know there are more than 4 dimensions. There are 5, 6, 7, 8, up to as many as 11 dimensions in what's called string theory. Now, in this particular case, our scientific hypotheses will be foundational, or what's foundational to our so-called string theory. We're going to combine both relativity and quantum theory, or quantum mechanics, because as we surmised yesterday, or we at least conjectured yesterday, that this COVID-19 goes in and out of at least two sets of dimensions. The quantum dimension and the relativity dimension. Now this is actually fourth grade stuff. A fourth grade student can understand what I'm about to say at this juncture because it can be shown. For an example, let me say this. This will be supported by what's called the Collatz conjecture. All the Collatz conjecture is 3n plus 1 will always equal what's called 1. Given any set of numbers, 1 through 10, you're going to have what's called a tree, a family tree of numbers. No matter how extravagant the numbers become, in a sequential order, based on the Collatz conjecture, any integer, which is a number 1 through 10, not a decimal equivalent, but any integer, which is a whole number 1 through 10, that's evenly divided by 2, is always equivalent to 1. No matter how sophisticated one gets, no matter what number 5. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16. That's an even number. Let's try to number 3. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 equals 10. In every case, no matter which number with which 1 starts, he's going to end up with 1. But the number 3n, n represents any integer or any number. 3 times any number plus 1 will always equal 1 when it's divided by 2. That's fourth grade stuff. I'll give you a more classic example. Try and divide. This is just simple, basic arithmetic, third grade level stuff that most people can't even do. And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not being demeaning in any way. But most people cannot prove that 60 divided by 7 is actually 60 divided by 7 is 8 times 7 is 8 times 7 is 56 with a remainder of 4. Most people, I would say 99% of all people will say the remainder is 4. But the way I taught arithmetic at the elementary level was my students had to prove that the remainder was 4. And there's a way to prove it. You keep dropping the zero or the placeholder. You keep placing it. You keep placing it until you're going to eventually wind up with 2 sets of numbers that's going to qualify as meeting what's called the law of identity. Try it. Divide 60 by 7. You're going to have 8 with a remainder of 4. Keep dropping your zeros and adding it up and dropping the zeros. But you're going to come up with 4-digit numbers, and they're going to be identical. That's how you prove that 60 divided by 7 is 8 with a remainder of 4. But you must be able to prove the remainder. And this is not taught in school. It's just, 8 with a remainder of 4. Prove it. When we prove it, folks, with the Collatz conjecture that, look at the bottom, adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine on the DNA side, And RNA is adenine, cytosine, guanine, and uracil. Now that's 2. The T is 1, and the U is another. Thiamine is 1, or thiaminic acid is 1, and uracil is the other. That's 2. So, given any number by way of the Collatz conjecture, any integer from 1 through 10 multiplied 3 times, add 1, and 1 will certainly come up, when divided by 2, 1 will come up with what's called 1. No matter how great the number. It can go up to 30, 40,000. It doesn't make any difference. But anyway, be that as it may, we found a key to this whole puzzle of this COVID-19. And the key lies in the fact that the scientific hypothesis is actually supported by a valid mathematical conjecture. And conjectures, you can only conjecture in mathematics. That's why a mathematician will never be awarded the Nobel Prize. Because all mathematics is a language. It's a language of physics. It's a language of chemistry. There are only 2 sciences. One is called physics, the study of matter. The study of energy. And the other is chemistry, which is the study of matter and its building blocks. And that's all this DNA and RNA is. They consist of 4 strands, but they only differ in the bottom strand, thiamine and uracil. And as I mentioned earlier, my book, published in 1977, you can't Google it. For an example, if one were to produce a book now on COVID-19 and enter it into the Library of Congress and get ISBN numbers and barcodes, it has to be at 2020. It won't be 1977, because you can Google this information now, but I couldn't Google this in 1977, could I? Google it and find out when you could Google. Okay, Google can lie faster than I can. So, be that as it may, as serious as this stuff is, I'm really having a lot of fun in working out and getting to the bottom of this thing, because this thing is in and out of at least Einstein's dimension, or Einstein's relativity, special relativity theory, or special relativity principles, and it darts back into a quantum world to pick up an enormous amount of energy. Because, folks, I know as a matter of fact, there are 4 chemicals that's involved in running the marathon, 26.7, or whatever it is, 26 miles. The first wall is at 8 miles. A person has to take in enough oxygen in order to reconvert the lactic acid back into glycogen and the adenosine diphosphate back into what's called adenosine triphosphate. So he can reach the next wall at 15 miles. Once he gets through that 15-mile marker, actually he can run all day. The first Olympic champion, after he won the marathon, he kept running and ran 100 miles back home to celebrate. So anyway, my book was published in 1977. All of this information on DNA and RNA, genome sequencing, is found on pages 23 to 27 and page 112. And I have supporting documents, not only from Virginia Clinton Kelly, President Clinton's mom, but also from Dr. Patrick J. Hurley at the University of San Diego, proving that I've developed, it took me 40 years to do it, a valid scientific hypotheses. Thank you so very much. I can be reached at area code 248-818-3461. Yeah, I'm retired Professor Harrison Whitney, a minor at least Cracker Barrel philosopher scientist. So thank you very much. And as serious as this is, I'm having a lot of fun researching and digging out this stuff. As I mentioned earlier, if you publish a book now, it's 2020. My book was published in 1977. You can Google it now, but I certainly couldn't Google it in 1977. Thank you. Have a good day. And we got this thing beat. At least I got it beat. All one after this, well, let me see your work. But they haven't come to me yet. So I'm doing the best I can, giving it to you. I'm not doing this for money. I didn't teach 45 years for money. But be that as it may, again, I'm Harrison Whitney. Give me a call, if you wish, 248-818-3461. Thanks, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.